speaker, Alana Romanella. She's the Cyberinfrastructure Community Organizer at the University of Colorado Boulder, and she's going to talk to us about access, and the title of her talk is Access Support Empowers Your Needs. Right, so I'll stop my screen share and pass it on to Alana.
Thanks, Tobin. I really appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to meet everybody virtually. Let me get my screen set up here. Okay, so welcome to a short discussion about access support. And some of you may also know us as the Multi-Tier Assistance Training and Computational Help, or so-called MATCH. And thank you, Tobin. I am Alana Romanella at the University of Colorado Boulder. So a little bit about me, because I am relatively new to the Exceed Access world. I actually just started 6 months ago with Access. My goal is to create and empower a comprehensive understanding of the nationally NSF-funded cyber infrastructure program, support digital marketing, communications, and coordinate the new community engagement program. I've spent the last 15 years in higher education, and in fact, I see a couple of you on the call who I know who have known me at my time at Virginia Tech. And mainly I focus on these kind of bullet points that I have up here. Switching my other hat, I am actually the general co-chair for PERC 23. So please, we would love to see you join us out in Portland, Oregon this year. And the PI for support or MATCH is Shelley Knut, the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Research Computing at the University of Colorado Boulder. So many of you are already deeply knowledgeable about access, but I figured that those that may not know the structure yet, I wanted to take a few moments to discuss it. You'll see a chart here that shows the 5 tracks of access. The blue arrow points down, showing where support fits in this structure. So you see allocations, support, operations, and metrics under the services. And then you see the ACO, which is the Access Coordination Office Services. Each project is independently managed, but highly cooperative. And it's the job of the ACO to support the collective operation of the overall access program. Support's slice of the pie is approximately $10 million, and this is a 5-year grant supported by 5 individual programs. So the University of Colorado Boulder, the University of Kentucky, the University of Southern California, Ohio Supercomputing Center, and MGH-PCC, the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center. So most of you are probably familiar with the Exceed support program. And my goal today is to provide everyone with a brief overview of what access support provides, followed by some Q&A and a little demo of our website itself. So support has restructured end user support and has created a multi-tier infrastructure capable of scaling to assist a growing research community with increasingly specialized support needs. So what are we about? And that's what this pyramid here is demonstrating. Our mission is to decrease the time for researchers and students to find the right solutions to their research and cyber infrastructure needs. We want to guide researchers to competently and effectively utilize the existing NSF access ecosystem and spend their focus on what's important to them. To do this, we're utilizing a tiered model that you can see here with easy access and entry to all researchers, leveraging tools like OnDemand and Pegasus, and building a knowledge base through the CSSN and CSUP. So what can people actually expect from our services? We provide a ticketing system, a knowledge base, a portal, Match Plus, Match Premier, and community opportunities. We're also a really wide open ear for suggestions and input from the community, and that's why I'm here today, and I'll actually be on the Campus Champions call on Tuesday, because we want to hear from you about your thoughts. So if you don't want to publicly talk about what you think, pros or cons, feel free to send me a direct email or submit a ticket with your concerns. And why is this important? So we really desire to serve all groups with equitable and scalable support. So from very new researchers to advanced users. While we're supporting sort of the traditional high performance computing throughputs, we are also spending time looking at humanities HPC and humanist opportunities to mine data. We want to democratize HPC and grow a robust and friendly community. And an important part of this pyramid is that you can enter at any level. So don't feel like you have to start with that tier 1 and head up to tier 4. If you are an advanced user, you can start at tier 4. But we just have this structured so that if somebody is new, let's say you have a student that's working with you or you have a new faculty or staff, it's great to start off with tier 1 and work your way up. So an important part here is our entry with Pegasus and Open OnDemand. And I'm actually going to skip over this particular slide because I think I want to focus on education and outreach today. And I believe that someone from my team will probably do a presentation specifically on Pegasus and Open OnDemand. And I feel like this has been fairly well covered. So this is a little sneak peek of the Access Support Portal. This is the ASP, as we refer to it, and it's a one-stop shop for the researcher. And shortly after these slides, I'm going to take you straight into this portal and talk about submission for the CSEP. So this serves as the front door for researchers to obtain guided support and assistance. The ASP leverages emerging curated tag taxonomies to identify and match inquiries with knowledge-based content and expertise. Expert monitored question and answer platforms are available to ensure that researchers' questions are answered accurately and addressed in a timely fashion. Users can open and create tickets, so anything from an allocation issue to security concerns via our simple user web form. These tickets are then triaged through that national system. The portal is a continuous work in progress, and we have some pretty big plans for future integration, so stay tuned for that. The incorporation and development of new and existing affinity groups, and notice on the right-hand side, you'll see an example of the RMACC Campus Champion Region 8 affinity group and what it looks like on our website. These affinity groups are formed with community members who have common shared interest in a computational issue, a scientific or engineering research endeavor, diversity and inclusion efforts, or any other connection point. Each affinity group will have access to Slack channels, forums, news and outage alerts, events, and training materials. So researchers, students, and the community will want to join the CSSN to participate in building the community. So on your left-hand side, you see CSSN join, and on the right-hand side, you see knowledge base used. The CSSN was created to encourage researchers to contribute to the knowledge base and support the CSEP, which is the community engagement program. So think of the CSSN as like a VIP list. So we have an update rolling out to the CSSN program that will allow you to list your skills and areas of expertise. This knowledge will then be used to create curated content for you and match you with students or programs that may interest you. On the right-hand side, we have the knowledge base, and this is the usable space. This is a space where researchers can quickly find answers to their computational problems by providing a single location to source information. So a researcher can search for an answer to their question. They can be provided with several solutions from a variety of support-approved information sources, such as our Confluence pages. And those sources can include additional documentation or training materials written by Access staff members, information resource from existing HPC centers from across the globe, and other materials created by our CSSN participants. We've already started the integration of submissions to the knowledge base from our CSSN members, and we expect that contributions will accelerate in the future as the CSEP program takes off. So you've been hearing a lot about CSEP. And so this is my slide here of speaking of the CSEP. Are you looking for free travel support? The CSEP provides community grants and contribution rewards in the form of travel to any conference of your choosing. So this can cover registration, flight, and/or hotel up to the dollar amount that you're awarded. A few fine prints here. This is open to everyone 18 plus. At a US-based institution. It can only be used for domestic-based conferences, but again, it's open to everyone, faculty, staff, or students, as long as you're 18 plus. And at the end of the slides, again, I'm going to give you sort of a guided walkthrough through that support website and discuss a submission in detail. So many of you have asked questions about Match Plus or Match Premier, and Match Plus engagement support is in some ways similar to the old ECSS, and in other ways it's completely different. So Match Plus engagement supports researchers in need of short-term assistance to resolve a computational barrier that slows the time to solution. So oftentimes these are things that could be resolved very quickly with a short-term assistance from a student. And so researchers will be able to request that Match Plus engagement on our website, where a short form will ask for a description of the problem. We will then reach into that CSSN and select students that can be matched with a mentor, again, part of the CSSN, who will provide guidance to that student for the resolution of your issue. And so normally this is maybe about a 6-month engagement. It can be a little bit less. Support will facilitate regular touch points between the students and researchers, among the students, and ensure the completion of the project. At the time, our initial pilot has actually closed, and some of you may have seen that we closed that on February 1, but we're always still looking for submissions. And when our pilot is complete, we will reopen again. We are still actively looking for mentors and students to participate at any time. So Match Premier is our higher level of support. So Match Premier provides support to researchers needing a little bit of something longer. And this is going to resolve a big barrier. So this is complex computational issues that are more complex and require the assistance of a staff consultant rather than a student. So these endeavors are usually longer than that initial 6 months, like with Match Plus. And funding for this level is provided by the researchers rather than being supported by Access Support. The meetings are the same. There's still that consistency with the schedule, very similar to Match Plus. And the consultants are again coming from that CSSN database. So there are a lot of opportunities for general engagement here, and we are looking for you to join us. So one of the first things that we say is create an affinity group. So if you have a lab, a set of students, or faculty that would like to join together, you can create an affinity group. It can be university specific. It can be something like new users to HPC. So gather a group of people together, or maybe you just start one and you create that, and we find people to join your group. And we can, again, provide you with those resources like the Slack channel and the Q&A forums. The second is joining our mailing list. So again, this is through the CSSN, but you do not have to sign up specifically to be a mentor or student or part of the CSEP. You can just sign up to be on our mailing list and be part of that VIP information. Now I'm going to head over to talk about travel support, which ranges from $750 to $2,500. And also talk a little bit about the $7,500 stipend for our students that are part of Match Plus. Okay, so here you will go ahead and see the main Access website. I'll call your attention to the left-hand side here where we have allocations, support, operations, and metrics. When you click on support, you'll be taken to our main page. So this is your one-stop portal here. So if you're looking to just get general help, I would suggest that you type in our search box, and you can type in anything. You can type in ticketing, you can type in Python, you can type in Match Premier, and it'll go ahead and take you to where you need to be. If you're curious about browsing our documentation and what we have, maybe you don't have a specific search, you can go here to our knowledge base and be taken again to all of our documentation and resources. If you want to engage with the committee and you're interested in being part of our affinity groups, you'll click on Join Affinity Group. If you say, gosh, Alana, I haven't really resolved my questions yet, I feel like I need to submit a ticket, you have Create a Ticket. And then we have the CSEP travel grant rewards for your contributions. And we really wanted to have this be very simple, effective, and easy for you, which is why we put everything onto one page to allow you to access things quickly. If you continue to scroll, you'll see our Match research support in the form of Match Plus. Again, click on Learn More, or Match Premier, Learn More. I want to take you over to our CSEP pilot. And so a lot of people have been asking questions. I've been doing this presentation a few times in the past few weeks, and I figured it would be fun to sort of run through a submission process to give you an idea of ways that you or your community can both support access and earn free travel. So the first option is what we call a higher lift, and this is the community grants. This is plans to create documentation, videos, tutorials, and live events that have not occurred yet. So this is something that, you're thinking about doing. Maybe you have an inkling of an idea, or maybe you've done something in the past that you want to enhance. So this is where you're going to submit to us your ideas for a community grant. If you're just doing one contribution, so let's say you're creating a document, creating a video, or a static tutorial, you would submit at the 1,000 level. If you say, Alana, I want to really engage the community live, this is where you're going to go ahead and you'll be submitting a plain document, your plain tutorial, and then adding a live workshop, special standalone documentation, or a particular live event that supports diversity efforts, student groups, broader community, and promotes awareness. If you say, that's a little bit too much of a lift for me, Alana, we have another bar of entry, and this is a little bit of lower work. And I always recommend that if we have a student or if someone's new to the field, they look to the community contribution rewards. And this is where we have two separate tiers. Our first tier is contributions to our knowledge-based resources, and I'll show you what those knowledge-based resources look like. If you're looking to see where you need to submit, you go to knowledge base. Here's knowledge base. You would click on that and you can add a new resource. So for the knowledge base, you can submit pre-existing tutorials, websites, documents, or trainings. So this might be something, let's say you taught a course last year and you already have everything together. You can go ahead and submit at that 1,000 level, either 3 contributions. Or if you say, I only have 2 contributions, you can submit at that 750 level. But this is something that's already been created and is in existence. The other option at the same level is to submit to Ask CI. And this is Ask CI, Ask Cyberinfrastructure. And this is available also under our knowledge base if you go to the Q&A forum. So here you can post a topic or a reply on Ask CI, and you can update Ask CI content. Once you've completed this, you can click the Apply Now button. If you were looking to really invest your time and efforts into shaping access and our programs, I would suggest going for Tier 2. And this is mentoring a student for 6 months as part of an active Match Plus reward, or serving on a plethora of our committees. So we have a Match Steering Committee, we have an Ask CI Committee, and we have a Community Grants Committee. Now, if you have a student who's interested in being part of Match Plus, they can receive up to $7,500 in a stipend. So this is not even for just travel. This is a specific stipend to be part of Match Plus. And we are taking those students under the CSSN. So you would go ahead and go into the community and you would click on CSSN and you would encourage that student to be part of the CSSN. So that is sort of my brief overview today of opportunities for you to be involved in access support and ways that the community, both students, faculty, and staff, can be involved. I would love to hear comments, questions, concerns, and then also sort of open the floor for how can access support better support CARC and better integrate with CARC.
Thanks for the great presentation, Alana. I think we did have one question in the
Okay.
chat so far. So Chris asks, can you speak to the use of the ASP compared to support for specific access resources, for example, bridges support or San Diego supercomputing support?
That's a great question, Chris. So actually, all of the knowledge base will also touch on, if I'm reading correctly, Chris, and please let me know if it is incorrect, but any documentation will also be found in the Confluence page for all RPs and all resources.
Yeah, I meant more if somebody is thinking of submitting a ticket, how do we guide them, or how do we decide
That's a great
bottom
question,
line is?
Chris. So I would actually encourage you to go ahead and just submit a ticket, rather than, if you know it's on an RP and you say, nothing within the knowledge base is going to answer that. I would encourage you to go straight to that support the ticket portion of the website, rather than going into the knowledge base or Confluence. And then I think, Chris, does that
Sorry, I think we're still miscommunicating here.
Okay.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding some context here.
Sure.
But okay, so suppose I'm trying to do something on bridges, and I
Yes.
have some problem, or have some software question. Do I submit to bridges support ticket, or do I submit to ASP?
Great. That's very helpful. Thank you, Chris. So you're actually going to be submitting to the ASP. So the National Ticketing System is within Access Support. So you are correct. You're not submitting just to bridges. You're going to be submitting through our support page with that ticket. I think I see some other questions here. Tobin, do you want me to read the questions, or?
Yeah, that's fine if you want to go for it.
Let's see. So is CSSN, Kirk, you have a question. Is CSSN a replacement for Campus Champions? So it is not a replacement for Campus Champions. In fact, we are still working with Campus Champions to find ways that they can be supported through the new program. And I think you're probably referencing the fact that we are not specifically monetarily supporting Campus Champions anymore. This is a space where Campus Champions are actually part of the CSSN, but in addition, we're inviting everybody from the community to serve within the CSSN. Does that answer, Kirk, your question?
Yep. Just trying to get through there was the Exceed Campus Champions and their meetings, and I didn't know about the financial part, but there was where's Campus Champions going? And so this is the question of, is CSSN sort of the new Campus Champions, and maybe broadcast it sort of similar to that of, getting that out as to, because we've been sort of waiting on where are our campus champions that we have on campus supposed to go now, because it's moved around a little bit. But so there's that.
That makes perfect sense, Kirk. I would still encourage them to participate, because you may or may not be aware that Campus Champions still have a really robust program. They are independent, but Access Support is trying to incorporate them. And so they'll still have their calls, they'll still have meetups and meetings, but the CSSN is sort of a broader umbrella. So you'll see the Campus Champions under that, but you'll also have the rest of the community.
Yeah. So that's just the new ad, is that this is an expansion of the service, as Access is sort of the expansion of all the Exceed parts. So that's a good piece of information. I hadn't heard of CSSN, so I'm getting my people attached in now. So thank you.
You're welcome, Kirk. Yeah, I know that's been a bit of point of confusion for some people. Let's see. Ramazan says, are topics for knowledge base determined by Access, or could contributors develop their own materials of interest? So that's a great question as well. So when you're submitting, I'm going to assume that you may be submitting for a CSEP reward. That's up to you at this point in time. So for the pilot, if you think, gosh, Alana, I really think that we need something more about Fortran, or I'm thinking about doing an integration that I haven't seen before with Python, or there's really something missing for intro to HPC, you can develop that on your own. But there will be the Access committees that will oversee that submission. And we may come back to you and say, thank you so much for your submission at the community grants level. We think you could tweak it this way. Or you can go ahead and submit existing resources for that lower level contribution at the 750 to 1,000 level. And we're probably a little bit less likely to say this doesn't fit. Does that help, Ramazan, with the topic differential? Awesome, great. Let's see.
I think Chris Reedy has his hand up.
Oh yeah, Chris.
Hi, Alana. Can you
Okay.
elaborate on reference to students some more? What kind of experience
sure.
are you looking for? What level of their studies they're at?
So Chris, are you talking about for the Match Plus partnership with the $7,500 stipend? Okay.
Right.
So we actually are accepting any students. So this could be your brand new undergrad student all the way through advanced PhD getting ready to graduate. And the way that we've done it is that if something comes across that's a lower level topic, we will try very hard to match that with an entering student because we want to be fair, right, to all students across the board. We didn't want to heavily weight things towards the PhD side or the grad side. I think in the end, it sort of becomes like that, but we want it to be open to everybody.
If I recruit someone, a student, what continued support would you expect from me? Should I be their mentor, or do you have in mind?
That's a great question as well.
Mentor?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Chris. So if you wanted to submit a Match Plus, like let's say, Chris, you have some concerns and you'd like to work on a new code base, and you said, I think this would be really great for the community. You could submit a Match Plus request, and then you could select your own student to actually work with you if you wanted to serve in that capacity. However, your students can just go ahead and sign up under that CSSN to become a student, to be part of Match Plus, and you don't need to be there. You just need to say, I'm comfortable with you being part of this, and they'll be matched with another mentor.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Alana. This is Gladys. My
Hey, Gladys.
next question was just to follow Chris there regarding the students. So like trying to find the practical ways to engage the students, even if we cannot be, the mentors or follow with them, but to get them engaged. How do we go about, in very practical ways to how do we do that?
I think that's a really good question, Gladys. So right now we have sort of a static system. So you've probably noticed, right, that the CSUP is really just and anything goes. And so what we've been suggesting is that if you have students, either you're working in a lab or you're teaching a course, we've been pushing out documentation about the CSUP to send to them. And then I'm thinking about doing a small video recording, which I'll put up on the website, that actually walks you through how to submit either a community grant or community engagement. And then we're encouraging campus champions, people within CaRC, to sort of serve as their mentor to guide them through that process. So particularly, let's say you have a student who's really gung-ho and would like to submit a community grant at the $2,500 level. We are hoping and encouraging those that want to serve as in a more mentor capacity to help that student shape the community grant, support them in writing the community grant, and then hosting those live events.
Okay. Thank you, Alana.
You're welcome, Gladys.
Hi, so this is Martin from Utah. I raised them too. So I have a question regarding the Ask CI.
Sure.
More like curating the information, because kind of I think that there is a lot of useful information scattered along many sites that, each of us have our own help pages where we tell people what to do and things like that. I've always used information from other sites to get things that I need to get. But I found I never figured out how to sort of merge it together. So I think that's a great idea that you guys are proposing. I am more kind of, but I'm curious. What do you want to do behind the scenes? So meaning, people will be submitting content in, and you probably want to curate it somehow to make sure, one, that you don't double up on the information that you already have there, and two, that the information actually is factual, correct, and things like that. So can you say a little bit more about your plans for reading through the submissions, or for making the Ask CI sort of more user-friendly, is not a word, more able to find, for people to find information that they need?
That's a great question, Martin. And so since we're just in the initial stages of the pilot, what our idea is, and you may have noticed there's an Ask CI committee. And so when someone submits, Martin, into Ask CI, we automatically have a team. In fact, we're getting together next week to discuss all submissions, and we go along and we actually curate. So you'll notice sometimes your post might be removed. We might suggest a change to your post. And then if you submit through the knowledge base, that's not automatically posted. It's actually curated on the back end by Access Support to ensure that, like you indicated, it was not a double resource. It wasn't something that was improper or incorrect, or something that was out of date. And so some of the onus is going to be on these committees to ensure that they are curated. But of course, Access Support, we're kind of standing behind those committees to then go back and double check. And if you have any ideas, Martin, on better ways to go about doing it, I'm absolutely all ears about that.
Yeah, I've struggled for this for years, and I'm more in my mind than anywhere else, right? But yeah, I really don't see any better way than just having people behind that are curating things and organizing things. And it's good that you guys got the resources for it now. In the past, when we are kind of juggling this idea, nobody really was paid to do it, and so nobody ended up doing it. So
and that's that is a great comment. And we hope that we're going to be able to continue, like you said, to curate every piece. And maybe our goal is we become overwhelmed, which means great success. And then we can actually add more committees, like you're suggesting, to have that oversight.
I think there are a couple other questions in the chat.
Okay, let me see. Thanks, Michael, for pointing out Campus Champions being very much active. Derek had a question. Hopefully, Tobin, I didn't skip over someone. If I did, please let me know. Can you clarify a bit on the goals of students participating in Match Plus? Are they pursuing their own research goals and getting assistance from their mentor, or helping create resources for the community use with guidance for a mentor? So Derek, that's a great question. So the students will be able to select what their skills are, rather than just simply saying, hey, I'm Alana Romanella, I'm a student at X university and I'm available. They'll be able to say, here are my more detailed ideas of, how I can support. But your second question, so saying the helping create resources for the community with the guidance, is more where this is headed. So the Match Plus program in and of itself, we are going to take in requests. We're going to review those requests, and then we're going to look into the CSSN for students who may have said, let's say the topic's Python. A student may have said, I'm an expert at Python in bioinformatics. If that initial Match Plus was looking specifically for bioinformatics, we would select that student, of course, with understanding that they probably have alignment within those research goals, but it's maybe a little bit less contributing towards them, but more contributing towards the community, because in the end, whatever they create is going to go on our knowledge base and will support that initial researcher who put in the application for Match Plus. A little bit of a bonus on Match Plus is that we really want to create a community for the students. So there are actually student-to-student meetings, there are student mentor meetings, and then there's also opportunities that we're going to have to meet up at Supercomputing and PERC.
Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. Let's see. Thanks, Tobin. So I think Yogesh asked if we have topics for scientific tools. So GROMACS, ANSYS, AMBER, et cetera. If not, are we planning to have these topics on Ask CI as different categories? So That is great. I want to take that back to Ask CI and go ahead and add those topics. So right now, what you see is just what we've currently populated. That does not mean that we can't expand it. So any ideas for either adding affinity groups, adding information to Ask CI to go ahead and get things started, that's up to the community, and we can go ahead and start those. So, Yogesh, if you're focusing on GROMACS, let me know. We can start a topic for that. And then if you'd like to go ahead and, answer underneath, that can actually be part of CSEP. So you could be rewarded at that 750 level. If I post something, you respond, and then you make some other response or submit documentation about, GROMACS, ANSYS, AMBER. Does that help? Awesome. Great. Thank you. Paula, that's a really good question. I laugh a little bit because we do use a lot of jargon. We do have one website for terminology, which I can send you, but we actually don't have an FAQ for terminology within support. And so I think you bring a really good point forward that when I'm throwing out Match Plus, Match Premier, Access, CSEP, all of that jargon kind of just turns to mush. So I think you've brought something to light where we should probably go ahead and have like an FAQ and a jargon clarification resource. So I'll note that down, Paula. Alan, thank you so much for those comments. I agree with you. Tobin, I want to make sure that I answered everyone's questions. Did I answer everyone's before the most current one from Jeff?
I think as far as I can see, but if I've missed anything, please repaste your question in the chat. That's probably easiest.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. That's a great question, Jeff. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to send you over to Stephen Deems for this one on allocation for, unless anyone on the call happens to know an answer to this. So Jeff asked, when requesting your very first Explore Access allocation, how many credits should the brand new researcher request? And this is not explained anywhere in the allocation request form. So I'm going to go ahead and take your question, if that's okay, Jeff, and send it over to Stephen, because I think this is an important point for any new researchers on our services, especially if this is not spelled out. Thanks, Tim. I will. Would you like me, Tim, to repeat Jeff's, or was there a specific one you'd like me to repeat?
I think we were talking just in general, because
Okay.
I don't know if everybody's following the chat.
Okay, makes sense. Let's see, Paula. So if someone creates content in collaboration with another author, can the award be shared between the authors? Absolutely, Paula. So the only challenge here would be the way that the award is given is, let's say you receive 1,000 or you receive 2,500. It's not a reimbursement. It's actually done through the University of Colorado Boulder. So you would each submit for, let's say, either your flights, your registration, your hotel. And so any sort of sharing would really need to be worked out prior by those authors who are sharing, because we wouldn't want to come to the fact where one person submits for a flight of $6.99 and only leaves, right, the other with, $51. So the onus is really on those collaborating authors to ensure that it's fair and equitable in that split. So we have another question about US-based institutions are eligible for monetary support through the CSSN and CSEP for travel in the match program. Are there any other requirements for institutional eligibility? So that would be anyone who is 18 plus. So unfortunately at this time, we can't take anyone who's under 18. We've actually had some freshmen who've wanted to apply, and unfortunately they were not 18 yet. So we've had to say, we're really sorry, you'll have to wait until you're 18. You need to be eligible to be within the United States. So essentially work eligible, some type of visa, We've had some people who are at the University of, let's say, South Korea, and while they're tangentially related to a US-based institution, they are still not eligible because they are not here within the US, or they are not eligible to be within the US. So I think Jeff, Lev, and Michael may have answered your question, I believe, in the chat. Tobin, do you want me to read that aloud, or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So sure. So Jeff, Lev says, SUs tend to burn quickly during trials. Don't be shy. I'd say ask for close to the max, which is 400,000. And Michael gives a +1, saying I'd ask for 400K as well. The limits for each level are listed and provided a link. You're welcome, Paula.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Alana? Feel free to use the chat or come off mute.
Jeff, that's a great comment. He said it took a lot of searching on the work website to find the 400K figure as the max allocation. This should be presented on the application itself. So like I said, I am going to email Stephen to ensure that we can look into this so that it's not so difficult for everyone to find.
Great.
Yep. Thank you again so much to everybody. I am happy to do, as I've been presenting, I'm happy to do one-on-ones as necessary. And recently I'm doing a little bit of a speaking tour to various universities. And so if you're interested, please let me know. Thank you, Justin, and thank you, Tobin.
Yeah, thank you, Alana, for your presentation and Q&A session. We spent 30 minutes answering questions. That was great. And I am sharing my screen right now with, I wanted to do a recap. Well, first, Alana, if you could post your email address or a way people can contact you if they have a follow-up, I think that would be helpful. Absolutely. For all. Yeah. Thank you so much. So last month, we used our time together to brainstorm around how to fill our next month's call topics through 2023. So what you're seeing on the screen are some of the high-level conversations that we had. I think I was able to distill out the feedback in the call notes and what we wanted to reboot from 2022 and 2021. We did a quick voting session, and we found that supporting research through containers and containerization was a topic that all of you wanted to revisit. So we'll make sure to get that on the agenda for 2023. Also, research data storage popped back up. No doubt that's super important to us right now, especially with the NIH and how they're changing the data sharing and data management policies in that space. New topics that came up that we have not done within the researcher-facing track is building research software, learning more about research software engineers, also how we support that at our institutions, how we hire and build those programs to get that kind of support at our institutions. Was a lot of commentary on that in the notes. Researcher-facing roles in libraries and the humanities. I know at my job, we are collaborating quite a bit with the libraries and the humanities, and especially around how to facilitate and manage NIH data sharing, data management and sharing policy. So that has kind of brought us all together again. So that's going to be a good topic. Supporting research or supporting cloud services, roles and responsibilities around cloud services. How are universities piecing together those types of services? We need a lot of different people from different domains to kind of come together to really help with the user experience for researchers as we onboard them into the cloud. So that's a topic I think we'll look for a way to dive into. And diversifying our workforce came up. Also, bioinformatics and supporting the architectures in bioinformatics were topics. Within the steering committee for the People Network at CARC, we are all working for trying to spin our May call around Accessibility Awareness Month. So I'm hoping that we can take one of these topics and move it and reframe it in an accessibility mindset there. So if you have any thoughts on how to kind of spin some of these topics for accessibility to bring that awareness in May, please use the chat to kind of give us some thoughts on that. That would be great. So that was last month in January. It was a fun call. I think we also decided that we want to do that at least once a year. So maybe every January we'll use that month to kind of brainstorm for scheduling calls in 2023 or for that following year. So thanks a lot. With announcements, on February 14th, the RCD capabilities model office hours will be happening. If you go into the announcements sections, I have put links in the call doc there that you can go learn more about the time that those office hours are. Also on February 16th, the systems facing track will be talking about the topic is towards the data commons at Harvard. So they'll have some folks on that call for a good conversation around data commons. And then on February 23rd, EDUCAUSE RCD group, along with the CARC Emerging Centers, will have a combined call to talk about supporting researchers with the NIH data management and sharing policy. So I know that Susan is on the call from the steering committee from EDUCAUSE RCD. So reach out to her, look for the website for how to register for that call.